Welcome back to Boats, Beers, and Backroads. I'm Jamie Allison, and this is a podcast where we talk to people who just love being in the outdoors, cottage country, all that fun stuff, and have a really good guest to be able to talk about that today. He's actually somebody who made Canadian fishing history, which hopefully we'll talk about. Jeff Gustafson became the first Canadian angler ever to win the Bassmaster Classic, one of the most prestigious events in professional fishing. But long before all of that, in the Elite Series and all those things that we'll talk about, he grew up on the shores of Lake of the Woods. We talked about a little bit about that already, but we'll kind of go into that a little more. He's a multi-species fishing guide as well. He's an outdoor writer. He's done photography, promoting, and lots of great things. And obviously a competitor on the Bassmaster Elite Series as well. So first of all, Jeff, lots of stuff going on for you, I know. So thanks for taking the time with us today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Nice intro. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been pretty lucky. I'm 43 and I'm sort of living my dream getting to fish the highest level of competitive bass fishing. I caught the bug for that really early and the bass tournament thing's just been a big part of my life like since I was, a young teenager. So that and then but just love being outside, whether it's fishing for all kinds of different species, some hunting, blueberry picking. I mean, I just love being outdoors and live in a I don't live in a convenient place. I'm on the north side of Lake of the Woods in northern Ontario. To compete on the Elite Series, I mean, the closest venue I've ever had is like 9 hours, and most of the places are a couple day drive, but I love it. And, but yeah, living where we do is fun for, most of the year.
Yeah, yeah. Well, tell me a little bit about that because obviously, there you would have grown up fishing as a kid and everything else, and
Mhm.
decided to do kind of the tournament circuit and all those things. I'm assuming, but like, was there a time you thought, hey, this might not just be a hobby for me or something like that? I could actually maybe do this for a living. Was there a time that you kind of thought that, I
Well,
guess, early on?
like when I was like 17, 18, 19, I started to win quite a few tournaments around home. And
Yeah,
so, some pretty good payouts, $10,000, $20,000 tournaments. And,
yeah.
um, so it beat my buddies, pumping gas, or it was a good gig. And then started mixing in some guiding. I went to university, but I was kind of on the keep mom happy program, didn't know what I wanted to do. And looking back now, like, I wish I would have taken more business marketing stuff. But I did it, and when I got done, I worked for like 3 months for a contractor buddy and I didn't know how to do anything. So I was like carrying drywall and shingles and like all the brutal jobs.
Yeah.
So uh I think at that point I just like, okay, I can make some money fishing the tournaments, but it's a short season up here.
Mhm.
At that point I knew I needed to like go to the US if I wanted to really fish for real money. But did that. I started guiding sort of all year round, like ice fishing, hunting, open water fishing. Started doing some writing. I got a good camera, and like I used to actually sell a lot of photos, and
Mhm.
but I just sort of found a way to like pay my bills, maybe get ahead a little bit, but like it was horrible at the bank because like it was so self-employed. Like I couldn't get $20 from the bank for
Yeah.
anything, brutal like in those early years. So it took me a while to like get my own boat. And like I think the first couple of trucks my dad had to co-sign, and like I just have
Yeah.
to pay him every month. It was like not that convenient, but made it work, and things have gone pretty good.
Yeah, and you mentioned, oh, I wish I had done more business stuff. I think a lot of people don't realize how much when you do it at that level. I mean, obviously it's different when you win, a huge tournament like you did, but a lot of
Yeah.
that other time, like just getting sponsors, doing all those things, creating a lot of the stuff that you need in order to get enough sponsors or money to be able to do some of these things. Like how much of a learning experience was that for you?
Well, yeah, because like, yeah, like the one thing that I wish like in school they don't really teach you a lot about like how income tax works, and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you yeah, you can make a lot of money, but like you're gonna have to pay a lot too. And like I think in those early years, yeah, if I got like $1,000 from somebody, it was like jackpot, you're it was, but yeah, I learned a lot of stuff the hard way on some of that. And
Yeah.
you kind of learn as you go. I'm much more organized now with all my, bookkeeping stuff, and
Yeah, it comes with the
that's
experience,
a
I guess,
loose
right?
sleep, no good if you have problems with that stuff. So I try
Yeah.
and, keep a pretty tight ship on that.
Yeah, good, good. Well, so the big thing that people know you from obviously is that you did win
Mhm.
the Bassmaster Classic. So tell us a little bit about, I mean, if people are listening, I mean, fishermen know how big that really is, but
Yeah,
there's lots of people who listen who just may not understand that is like the Super Bowl of, of
yeah,
your sport. So tell us a
yeah.
little bit about that and what it was like to how that maybe changed things for you too.
Yeah, so that it's our, like you say, it's our biggest event in the sport, and it's been going on. That was the 53rd one that I won, so this is I think be 55, 56 here now, and um, it's yeah, it was that's the dream for anyone that fishes tournaments is winning that tournament. So for me, I think that was my fourth or fifth one that I fished, and it's one of those things where like you probably I don't think I had the attitude that I couldn't win it, but I never really expected to. And then it was in Knoxville, Tennessee, where I won. And I actually won an Elite Series tournament at that place a couple years before, so I had some pretty good history there. And yeah, I went to that tournament like really in a different mindset a little bit, maybe more than I normally would have of just I'm gonna win this thing. I want to win this thing, and I sort of fished that way, and it worked out. It kind of came down to the wire at the end, but yeah, life changing. I mean, I had a lot of good come from it, and uh, it's it was I still like it was the celebration after was one of my favorite nights I've ever had in my life. I mean, just so many friends and people showed up that something that I hadn't seen in a long time, and just it was just a great sharing it with everyone like that night after. Like if I to win again, that would be the part that I'd want to like get to do that.
Yeah, you kind of
And I've
savor it a little
told
more
some of
too,
the
right?
yeah, like Easton Fothergill, a young guy from Minnesota, won last year, and I that's what I told him like sort of right after was just enjoy everything tonight because that was my favorite part, just getting to share it and with all my friends.
Yeah, yeah. And well, you mentioned that you had won something just before. Is there something about fishing there that just to you it's like it plays to your strengths? What is it? What is it? Or
Yeah,
is there
so it's a southern reservoir and there's smallmouths there. And, obviously grew up fishing for smallmouth bass, but in most of the southern fisheries, largemouths kind of are the king. And yeah, I've weighed in all smallmouths at that place and they sort of act for whatever reason. Most of the time, like on southern fisheries, like my knowledge of smallmouths is irrelevant. Like they're just totally different. Like
yeah,
totally different fish, and for some reason at that place they're very similar to like how they act where I live, and I just felt comfortable fishing for them. And I
yeah.
caught them all on a jig head and a minnow bait that I've used for 25 or 30 years around home, like literally since I was a teenager, and caught thousands of bass on that thing, a smeltinator jig head. And um just yeah, it worked out for me. And
Yeah.
um
Wow.
yeah, I don't know. It's so this year I actually missed qualifying for it, and it's
Yeah.
back in Knoxville at that same fishery
Oh,
in a couple weeks. So I'm gonna have to be there. They have an expo, so I'll be hanging out at that. But I don't get to fish, and it's a bit of a heartbreaker. But yeah, first time I missed it, and it was sort of a bad year to
of
miss.
course, of course. Yeah. Now,
But yeah, we've started our 2026 season. We've had a couple tournaments already in
yeah,
Alabama, and I got off to a good start to the year. So
cool.
yeah, keep it rolling and get
Yeah.
back to it next year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if this made a difference for you, but I noticed like you had a lot of press, a lot of things because you were the first Canadian to ever do it as well.
Yeah,
How like was that different for you, I guess, because you also I like fishing doesn't have the same kind of media presence here in Canada as it does obviously in especially the southern US. Was
yeah.
that a big change for you by kind of having that recognition of being the first Canadian to do it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course. And just for me, like I just know how many like really talented, really good anglers that we have in
Yeah.
Canada. And then, the Johnston brothers from Peterborough that they fish the Elite Series as well. We've kind of grown up fishing, against each other and with each other, but like they're super good. And like Chris he's won Angler of the Year a couple times. He was the first to win a elite tournament. He's first to win an FLW tour event in Southern Circuit we used to fish. And like, so like to beat those guys to something first, that meant a lot to me. But more just because, and I mean that as a compliment to them because they're super good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean we have so many good anglers in Canada, and like when I come home and fish the tournaments here, I mean I'll do pretty good, but like it's hard to win any of them. There's like I say, lots of good anglers, and it's competitive, and I wish. We keep more and more guys are going for it and trying, but it's hard. It's hard to make the Elite Series and hard to stay there once you make it too.
Yeah. Yeah. Growing up, did you, I mean, obviously there's probably people that you grew up around, but was there anyone who was kind of your like role model or mentor or wow, I'd like to be able to kind of do that? Is there anybody like that for you?
Yeah, and again, really got lucky there. Like, first, my dad and my grandpa took me
Yeah.
fishing when I was a little kid, and I mean that's the biggest thing with kids is like if nobody takes them, they're probably not going to go and learn how to do it. So, but Gord Pizer, really sort of popular Canadian angler, a longtime writer, media guy. I mean, when I was, 10 or 11 years old, I mean, he started taking me fishing and I learned a lot from him. He was advanced and had the best equipment and, knew how to fish for all the different species. But he was a big one and just some of the good tournaments that we have in the summer, Al Linder would come and, the Linder crew from Minnesota would come. Bob Azumi came and fished for years at our big local Lake of the Woods tournament. So I got to meet those guys and they were nice to me and kind of, helped open doors. And just like anything, a lot of it, it's who you know and meet and network, it's funny how it works. And then to get go like I don't know if I ever would have even went for it in the US, but I just through all my guiding that I was doing, I had a friend from Minnesota that kind of had the means to help me out and get me started. And if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't have, made the big leap to go fish in the US because it's expensive. And it's definitely not easy, and it keeps getting harder every year. Like just how good all the like up and coming anglers and young anglers are today.
Yeah.
It's changed a lot.
Yeah, it's interesting. We had Bob Zumi on a little while ago, and we were talking about how different it is from when he had started out. I mean, he still does tournaments now, but
Mhm.
obviously had done that a lot before. But we talked about how technology has changed so much, how people fish, and being able to keep up with it, knowing that there's so many other things that people use in most tournaments, depending on the rules. But how's that been for you? I mean, knowing that it used to be a lot of it was feel and understanding and looking at the
Yeah.
lake and things like that. Now you can literally see what's happening in the lake from a lot of this stuff. So
Yeah,
what's that
no,
like for you?
and the kids are so good, like with the forward sonar. I mean, it's
Yeah,
unbelievable. And like I feel like I'm above average. I mean, I fish so much and use it so much that like but like I made it sort of in the US by being able to do well, like fishing offshore, deeper water, open water,
yeah,
before all this technology came along. And now those are some of the tournaments that I seem to have the hardest time in. And it's
yeah,
just maybe I'm fighting like trying to mix doing things the way that I used to with like the new technology. Like I don't know, but it's just one of those things. Like I spent a lot of time in my boat last fall just with the attitude that that's all I can do to get better is use the stuff um and I don't know. You can't make excuses. Like I don't want to have to get another job, so like
yeah.
I gotta just catch fish
You got to
and
figure it
no
out
problem.
and
Yeah.
adapt, I guess, right? So
Yeah, but it's just like anything. I mean, the more time you put into it, the better you're going to be and the more success you're going to have. So it's
Yeah.
just, I spend a ton of time fishing, and it's, not always just for bass, but just being out there, and I love it, but it's also like the end game is just to continue learning and getting better.
So what's the difference between like when you're competing and doing tournaments and things like that, and then there's the time where you're back home doing guiding and just kind of taking people out and things like that. What's the difference for you that way? I mean, obviously it's probably a little more relaxed, but do you have I don't want to say a preference because obviously your preference would probably be to try to win money and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
I'm a
what's the
competitive
difference
guy.
like?
I'm
Yeah,
a competitive guy, so like I live for the tournament stuff. I love it, and I mean I fish in every one that I can when I'm back around home too.
yeah,
But I do just love being out fishing and like enjoying a nice sunset, a nice evening, and
yeah,
like this week I'm gonna get on the ice and catch some perch and walleyes, crappies, and have a couple good dinners, and
yeah,
I'll like I eat fish a fair amount, but more in the winter probably. Like I feel
hmm
like when I go, I want to just like if it's not that nice out, I can just go for an hour or two and like bring dinner home, and I
yeah,
got out of the house and
yeah,
maybe enjoyed a nice sunset on the ice. But like, uh, but yeah, I'm a competitive, person, so I do love the tournament stuff. But again, I like going on a backcountry trip too a lot, and just taking in that whole experience, just being fishing with different friends, and
yeah,
um,
yeah. Just getting
all
out
that.
there.
Just getting out there. Yeah.
So what's maybe that's one thing because some people aren't as experienced in ice fishing and doing kind of going out at this time of year and
Mhm.
what's that like where you are? Obviously it's a big thing where you are because you have a little bit longer of a season than maybe people even Southern Canada
Yeah.
and things like that. So
Yeah.
what's that like for you and what's it like up there? I mean, just to give people a bit of an idea.
Yeah, so like we're lucky around here. We've got it's a long winter. Ice conditions are really pretty good for, for several months,
Yeah.
but like the cool thing around where I live, around the Lake of the Woods region, and we have a ton of smaller inland lakes that have good fishing too, but really good fishing for a variety of species. And
hmm
that's, like one day I might go catch walleyes or lake trout or crappie, pike. Sometimes you can do it all in the same day. But like that's the biggest thing that I kind of enjoy. Um, I take a snowmobile most of the time, just because living here, if you want to do a lot of stuff outside, it makes it a lot better. But there are ice roads, and there's smaller lakes you can walk into, like if you don't have access to that stuff. But
Yeah.
I usually take a snowmobile. Just I can put all the gear that I want to take either on it or just pull behind in a sleigh, and I can be pretty mobile and go wherever I want to go. So I have a
Yeah.
lot of fun with that, and the machine I have is sort of a big four-stroke worker machine. It'll go pretty good, but it's not like a
You're not going
rocket
to whip
ship.
across it. Yeah.
No, I'm not like brapping around the lake or
Yeah.
anything. It's quiet, and it's fun to drive around on.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have I mean you kind of mentioned one I'm assuming is probably the might be your favorite, but maybe a winter and a summer like a favorite either lure or technique or anything like that. Like are you a live bait kind of minnow kind of person in the winter time or how what are your favorites for summer and for winter?
So for winter, I'm buckshot rattle spoon. So it's just a ice fishing spoon that's been
Yeah.
around for a long time, and it's got some rattles in it. I always put a minnow head on for just a little bit of scent and meat. In the boat, I don't use it. I haven't used meat in the boat for years. I mean,
Yeah.
just the plastics now are so good, and electronics, you can find the fish pretty easy. So.
Yeah.
And again, up where I live, if anyone's like wants to go on a fishing trip and like have fun, come and see us up in Northern Ontario, because there's so many good places to fish. And um, but generally, I mean, if I'm guiding and fun fishing, it's just pretty much always a jig head with some sort of plastic on it, whether it's a Ned rig or a jig head and a minnow or jig head and a twister tail like that. Just I'll adjust the weights for for the different depths. If I'm
Yeah.
fishing under 10 feet, I'll probably use a 3/16 or an 1/8 ounce jig head. 10 to 20, I'll use a 1/4 ounce, and deeper than 20, I'll use a 3/8 ounce. I mean, that's just a general byline you can kind of go with, but
Yeah.
uh, I don't know.
Uh,
Yeah, it's jigging and plastic's like tough to beat if you just want to catch a bunch of fish and big
yeah.
ones.
And you know what? I think most people listening would they kind of expect you to give this kind of real intricate kind of thing, but it's the reality is a lot of it is just finding them and knowing kind of
Yeah.
how to present it and everything else. So
Like it's fun to use some of the top waters and big lures and like fancy lures and stuff. Like I have
yeah,
lots of that stuff, but I catch like probably 10 to 1 just with a jig head and a plastic. And that's like almost all species, not
yeah,
just bass.
yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously you're in what would be termed as at least cottage country, if not kind of more than that anyway.
Yeah.
So what do you prefer? Do you prefer a that kind of morning glassy kind of water, or do you like it a little more kind of grinded out choppy kind of stuff? What's your favorite of those two?
No, I love a peaceful, calm, beautiful morning. I get up early, so yeah, I live for that for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Some days though, like in tournament competition, the wind can be your friend, and
Mm,
sometimes it's not always as fun to like be out there in the wind, but
yeah,
sometimes you can make some bite. It makes a fish bite better.
yeah, absolutely.
So
And
don't be afraid to go if the wind's blowing a little bit.
all right. Um, Smallmouth or largemouth? You obviously have lots of smallmouth, kind of where you
Yeah,
are.
yeah.
Which do you prefer fishing?
Probably smallmouths, like just because they have a good attitude and they
Yeah,
fight and they usually like to bite
yeah,
most of
yeah.
the time,
Okay. Um, and just one lure you can't live without. I mean, is that kind of the ones you already talked about, or do you have one that okay, that one, if I didn't have that one, I'd really actually
I
be
mean,
upset
just to
about it.
like for for me to catch all the walleye and smallmouth and largemouth, all the bass, I want a Ned rig. I use a Northland Nedster jig head. It's got a good hook in it and a Z-Man hula stick. That's the bait that I like. They make a variety of different like Ned style baits, but it's just a little 4-inch straight-tailed worm.
Yeah,
And I thread it on that jig head, and I use a dab of super glue to hold it on, and
huh, okay.
it literally that thing catches everything. It's small and slender, sort of a finesse profile, and a good crayfish imitator, I guess. But I just sort of bounce it along on the bottom, and yeah,
Cool.
I've catch like hundreds and hundreds of fish every year on that bait.
Well, I'm sure everybody's writing that down now, so so
Yeah,
thanks for that. So if people are, I mean, you're obviously into the season now and all of those things. So if people want
yeah.
to follow you and what you're doing, and whether it's at home or whether it's on the tour, what are some of the best ways to do that, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm on social media, pretty easy to find. Instagram, I'm Gussy Outdoors, and yeah, I'm constantly posting about my fishing activities and adventures and baits and
Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
if you're into fishing and uh want to learn a few more tricks, then I can probably help you out a little bit there.
Awesome. All right. And obviously if people want to go to Lake of the Woods, they could probably kind of chat with you there about it too. So
Yeah, send me a message and I don't do a ton of guiding anymore. Like
yeah,
I probably do 20 or 25 days and like if it works and I'm there, I'll go. And if not, I have a few good buddies I can get you connected with or resorts. And I grew up working at like, I don't know, probably 10 or 12 different resorts around the area. So
yeah.
yeah, I can point people in the right direction at least.
Awesome. Well, what we'll do is we'll put your socials in the podcast kind of piece as well. So if people didn't get it right away, they can just click through there. And if you are listening and haven't hit subscribe in the podcast, do that now. We have great people every week, just like Jeff. And again, I know it's a busy time. It's great that we kind of caught you while you were kind of in a little bit of an in between time at home. So thanks for taking the time with us, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Okay, guys, thanks for having me.
All
Appreciate
right.
it.
And we'll talk to everybody else again on boats, beers, and backroads.